Hi, and welcome to your Sagittarius New Moon Yoga. I'll just quickly talk about what to expect today. So we'll start with, I'll just speak a little bit on the astrology and what the new moon means. And then we'll go through a yoga flow that'll be pretty flowy. We'll really be leaning into the idea of fire because Sagittarius is a fire sign. And also Sagittarius is about the thighs, so a little bit of strength in our legs, and then we'll taper it down at the end and take a more yin moment, and then we'll end it with a meditation and shavasana. And after our shavasana, you have the option to do some intention setting around the new moon. So when we work with new moons, we're working with the energy of a point in a cycle. When we're at the new moon point, we're talking about like the start of the cycle. So at the start of the cycle, this is also like the intersection of the end of the cycle. So there can be simultaneously releasing or letting go or moving on from something and then moving into something new because the space is there to do so. So it can be like the beginning of something. And, you know, it doesn't have to be this big major event in your life. It all really depends on your own chart. I'd love to just look at your charts individually and be like, this is what's happening for you. But unfortunately, we are virtual. But yeah, very basically, it can be the beginning of something in your life. It can be major, it can be minor, it can be somewhere in between, and it will have something to do with some facet of your life. So it's not likely a complete life overhaul, though that could be happening in somebody's life right now. But yeah, so for me, for example, this would be occurring in my 7th house. And the 7th house, so your birth chart has 12 houses, and each house represents a facet of life. The 7th house represents partnerships and relationships. So there could be some sort of new beginning in my business partnership or in my romantic partnership or some sort of relationship I have one-on-one with somebody else. That's just one example. I can't actually think of what might be happening for me right now in that regard. Actually, I can. I feel like, just a quick ramble. Sagittarius, I'll get into the themes of Sagittarius in a moment, but one of the themes is philosophy. Sagittarius seeks truth, and philosophy is one route of seeking the truth. And I've really sort of been experimenting or dipping my toe in viewing my relationships a bit differently through a different philosophical lens, more so around like collectivism rather than like individualism. Like every network I'm involved in is a system. We're all bouncing off of each other. It's not about me and what can I get from this and what am I giving them. It's how are we all working together. I'm such a big, I've started thinking like this or experimenting with this because I'm so hell-bent on the fact that our body is a system. There's something wrong with my lungs or whatever. I'm going to approach the whole body. I'm not going to isolate the lungs. Like there's something going on with the entire body. There's something going on with my immunity, my hormones, my digestion, my brain, my mental health. It's all linked. And I know this, like experientially, I know this. That's another theme. Sagittarius is so experiential in their knowledge. They embody their knowledge. They experience the knowledge that they learn. Anyways, point is, if I think my body is a system, well, then that's applicable to my environment and the world I live in. Innately, I know this, you know this, maybe. But I've just really become quite conscious of it and have been placing my awareness on that within my relationships. And it's been kind of profound, I guess. Anyway, I digress. Rather, that was an example of how it might be showing up for me. But more broadly, speaking on the Sagittarius themes, Sagittarius is a fire sign. They're mutable. Mutable is like the change of seasons. A mutable sign is quite adaptable to change in life. Sorry, I just had a blank in my mind. Anyways, Sagittarius, mutable fire sign. Fiery, they're fiery people. If you've ever met a Sagittarius, they can be, obviously we have a whole bunch of energies at play in our charts, but Sagittarius can be the life of the party, that flame that everyone's like drawn to. They're down to earth, they're funny. Sometimes their filter lax. Sometimes they'll just say something so outlandish and just sort of like flippantly shrug it off. They can be spontaneous to the point of aloofness. I like to sort of think that there's a gradient with the energies of an astrological sign. So like, I guess like the bad end of that is the aloofness. The good end of that energy is spontaneity within context where it's like fun or exciting or contributes to that seeking of the truth. Sagittarius, that's actually another good example. The truth, the other end being lies, dishonesty. They can lie. I mean, anyone can lie, but that's sort of emphasized, I guess. They like to learn. They like to travel. They like to think, see, experience broadly. It can be about moving or traveling abroad. They can really see the bigger picture. I like to think of their opposite sign, Gemini. Gemini loves to hone in on like one tiny little piece of information. Sagittarius has the ability to, see it all. What's that saying? Gemini can't see the forest for the trees, kind of thing. What else? Philosophy, I said that. Sagittarius can be really into philosophy. Or like belief systems, so religion as well, any sort of belief system, any sort of lens to navigate the world with. So yeah, beyond philosophy and religion, we could be talking about astrology, we could be talking about human design, just anything, really. What else? I guess on philosophy, there can be a real theme at the moment with this particular new moon around existentialism, sorry. Just because it's that time of year, we could be having a moment of existentialism. What am I doing? What is going on? There's this whole energy at the moment. You know, people are talking about like the snake and the horse and whatever, where we've just had a couple of years where everything or some things got flipped upside down and life changed. And I think we're at a point now where we're like, according to the astrology, where we're like, okay, I have the time and the space now, or stuff is arising in my body that I can feel that is telling me that all just happened. And look at where I am now and what's next. And then it's the end of the year. So everyone's like, okay, it's the end of the year. What's next? What are my New Year's resolutions? All of that. So it's all just sort of like, these are all different lenses of the same energy. Yeah, we could be having a moment of that. We could also, in terms of the astrology, the new moon is next to or conjunct Venus and Mercury. Another conjunction is that it's square to Neptune, I think. And it's square to Neptune, and when Neptune's involved, there can be some sort of like delusion or deceit, which could be taking you off track a little bit. So that's just something to be mindful of. And because Mercury's involved, we're talking about communication here, there could be a lie, there could be some deceit that comes to the surface, or that forges a new beginning for you, like the truth comes out and you're like, okay, now I have more clarity around what's next. It could be something as small as like, oh, I found out that maybe this isn't small, but I found out I got a job, or I found out I didn't get the job. It could be some good news, it could be some bad news, it could be news related to Sagittarian themes. Again, it depends where it is in your birth chart. So like if you were waiting on news of getting a job, maybe Sagittarius is in your 10th house of career, maybe it's in your 6th house of like daily things that you do, so like your job, your work. Yeah, you might be getting news around like the network you're in, that would be the 11th house. You might be getting news around any sort of, what's it called? Oh my God, I can't think of the word. When you investments, if it's in your 8th house, news about your neighbor, if it's in your 3rd house, that kind of thing. Sorry, 2nd house also concerns your work. Anyways, so they're the themes of Sagittarius. Again, it really depends what's happening in your chart, but basically a new beginning around the Sagittarian themes, maybe something to do with communication because Mercury is involved, maybe something to do with relationships or like creativity because Venus is involved, or the arts. Maybe some sort of philosophical undercurrent as well. Which is funny, I actually have very recently been exploring like philosophers I don't normally really delve into, like Hegel, and anyway. Because I teach yoga, I'm spending a lot of time in the like Eastern philosophy realm, so not so much in the Western philosophy realm, but lately I kind of have been. Anyways, again, I digress. Oh, also, Sagittarius is really independent. I think that's something worth mentioning. That sort of adds to their aloofness sometimes. They really have like a drive for freedom and liberation, or independence at the very least. So anyways, let's get into our yoga flow. We will start on our backs. I'm just going to readjust this. I have a bolster here, I have a block, and I have a blanket. If you don't have a bolster at home, you could grab a pillow. The blanket's just if you want. Maybe for Shavasana, you might like to pop a blanket on. I won't, because it's about 40 degrees Celsius today, so that's going to the side for me. And then a block, you could use a book. This isn't that necessary, but it's there if you need. So like I said, let's start on our backs. For the legs, you can bring them long, or you might like to just bring the soles of the feet to the earth and knees to the sky. For our arms, let's have our arms down by our sides. Palms facing up, and I want you to bring the hands into a mudra. So this is a gesture or a seal, or it's also translated to an attitude. We're going to bend that ring finger of both hands down towards the palm and then rest the thumb on top of the nail or the tip of the ring finger. This is Ajni Mudra. This mudra connects us to our inner fire. In Ayurveda, they believe that the body is made up of 5 elements, one of them being fire. So taking this mudra, creating that energy channel or that intention to connect to your inner fire. And just trust that that's what's happening. And from here, making any last adjustments to get comfy, and then once you're there, closing down the eyes. I just want you to take these first few moments to notice how you feel. Just kind of meet yourself where you're at in this moment, and especially accept where you're at. Notice how the body feels. Anything arising, any thoughts. Again, just meeting this with an acceptance rather than judgment, rather than any expectation you had about how to show up today. Can you start to notice all the parts of the body meeting the earth, the whole underside of the body? Can you let the whole underside of the body be a little heavier? Allow that support beneath you to do its thing. Can you imagine that the top side of the body is kind of melting over the edges of the bones, the muscles, melting towards the earth? Starting to bring the awareness to the mudra, the hands. Just noticing perhaps warmth here or anywhere in the body. Perhaps noticing warmth, an inner fire at the space just above the belly button. Solar plexus chakra, Manipura. This is our inner fire, the energetic representation of our inner fire. It's our will, our self-trust, self-confidence, a source of our drive. Just connecting to that space just above the navel. Can you have your awareness just above the navel and at the hands at the same time? Starting to notice the movement of breath in the belly, sensing the rise and the fall of the belly button with the inhale and the exhale. Inhaling through the nose. As you exhale, exhaling through the mouth to release. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale. And on your exhale, I want you to make a sound. Kind of like picturing the letters HAWWW. Inhaling. Exhaling. Taking 3 or 4 more rounds of that. Maybe you're in a really private space and you could be really audible with your exhale, really release it all. Like you're blowing out fire. And finishing off your last round. You can release the hands, maybe press the palms down towards the earth. Returning to that natural rhythm of breath. Let's draw the soles of the feet to the earth a bit wider than hip width. Draw the arms out wide, palms facing up. Maybe you're in a smaller space. You could cactus the arms. Take an inhale here, filling up that navel space. Exhale, letting both knees drop to the left. Gazing over the right shoulder. Inhale, knees to center, gaze to the sky. Exhale, knees to the right, gazing over the left shoulder. Inhale, knees and gaze to center. Exhale, knees to the left, gaze to the right. And just moving here with your own breath. See if you can consistently move. So lifting the knees up to center for the entire length of the inhale. Dropping the knees for the entire length of the exhale. And see if you can sort of bring the awareness to that twisting motion from the belly button. Finishing off your last round, taking as much time as you need, and we'll all eventually meet the knees to the sky. Bring our arms down by our sides, grazing the back of the heels with the fingertips. We're going to take a bridge here. So as you inhale, pressing into the balls of the feet and the heels, starting to lift the spine up off of the floor, sort of tucking that tail as you roll up through the spine, nice and slow. Weight comes into the shoulders, the upper back. Take an inhale here, and then exhaling the spine all the way back down to the earth. Now, if you don't feel like this right now, you could just pop a prop underneath the lower back, come to a supported bridge, or you could stack the hands underneath the lower back, come to a supported bridge. Otherwise, continuing to roll the spine up on an inhale, and down on an exhale, keeping the gaze through the midline. Your next inhale option to add the arms, bringing them all the way up overhead, moving with the length of the breath. Exhale, releasing the hips, releasing the arms back down by your sides. Couple more here. And if you're in your supported bridge, just focusing on the breath. then we'll meet that spine on the earth. Once you're there, you can draw the knees to the chest, hands to the knees, and just rotate the legs outwards and inwards, or any sort of expression that feels good here for you. Maybe just a hug of the knees to the body. Nice. And then from here, let's hook the hands behind the thighs, and we'll just rock and roll up the spine. A couple more times. Nice. And then as you come up, crossing the legs, bringing the hands out, finding your table. Just finding your table any other way. Fingers spread wide. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. From here, let's tuck the toes under, feeling the opening through the back of that foot. Take an inhale as you gaze to the top of the mat. Exhale, lifting the knees 2 or 3 centimeters off the floor, feeling that core engage. Holding here. Take an inhale. Exhale, releasing the knees to the earth. Inhale, knee lift. Holding here. Exhale, releasing. Inhale, lifting the knees. And exhale, pressing back to your downward facing dog. So here your knees can be bent or straight. Heels are driving towards the earth, but they don't need to touch the earth. The head and the neck are fully relaxed. There's a slight bend in the elbows, and those fingers are spread nice and wide, downward facing dog. Taking a couple of breaths here. Driving the torso towards the top of the thighs. And on your next inhale, coming on to the tippy toes. Exhale, pressing the heels back to the earth. Inhale, tippy toes. Exhale, back to the earth. Once more. Nice. Coming back to your downward dog. Let's bring the left foot to the sky for our 3-legged dog. Toes pointing towards the midline. Take an inhale. Exhale, bending that knee, shifting the weight forwards. Knee towards nose, and then we'll bring that foot between the hands at the top of the mat. Now, option here to come into that high lunge or that low lunge. So dropping that back knee for the low lunge, otherwise coming to that high lunge. We want that front knee over the ankle or just behind it, arms forwards and up. Lunging. Dropping the shoulders down, looking forwards. If you're in your high lunge, really pressing that back heel back. And here we are, engaging our quads, our legs, very Sagittarius of us. Sagittarius rules the thighs. If you don't want your arms above the head, you can bring your hands to the hips. Breathing into the strength of the legs, even if you're in a low lunge. Pressing away from the earth, so we're nice and tall through the spine. Let's inhale the hands above the head. Exhale, folding over that front leg. Left hand to the, I've gotten my lefts and rights confused. Left hand to the inside of the right foot, opening the right fingertips to the sky. So we're gazing at the fingertips, the wall of the earth. Taking a breath here. And then windmilling that top arm back and around, framing the front foot. And then we're all going to lift our back leg if you're not already there. And then come up into our three-legged dog or just your downward dog. I'm so sorry I got my lefts and rights confused. Let's take an inhale. Exhale, shifting the weight forwards, finding your plank. Maybe the leg stays up in the air. And then we'll all meet with our foot on the earth. And then coming over into our side plank. So rolling over to the right blade of the foot, opening the left fingertips up to the sky, or you can drop that right knee, come into a supported side plank, gazing at the ceiling, the wall, or the earth. And again, pressing away from the earth, pressing the hips up towards the sky. Nice deep breaths. Engaging the core, connecting to your strength. Inhale. Exhale, coming back down, meeting in your plank. Taking a breath here. Dropping the knees. Extending the right leg long. Inhale. Exhale, knee to nose, rounding the upper spine. Inhale, lengthening the leg back. Exhale, tiger curl. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, this time bringing the right foot to the left side of the mat, dropping that foot so it's on the outside of the left foot, about 30 centimeters away. And then gazing at that foot. Gazing over the shoulder at that foot. Nice. Nice deep breaths. On your next inhale, we'll lift that leg. I'm just going to turn around so you can see better. Lift that leg, and then we're going to bring it all the way around so that the toes line up with the knee, and we're going to drop the sole of the foot to the earth. So we're in a sort of table with a long leg. Then we're just going to shift the weight forwards and back a couple of times. Nice. And then coming back to center, we want our wrists under our shoulders, and we're just going to take a cat-cow here. So as you inhale, lifting the chest, looking forwards, belly drops to the earth. Exhale, rounding through the spine, gazing to the navel. I'm just going to turn around again. Inhale, lifting the chest. Exhale, rounding. Once more. Inhale. Exhale to round. Meeting back in that neutral spine, and then we're going to press the hips back, sort of finding a child's pose here, dropping the forehead to the earth with that long leg. If you don't like this long leg, you can just come back to a traditional child's pose. And taking some nice deep breaths here. Nice, and from here we'll meet back up, shifting to a table, so both knees under the hips, and then we'll meet in our downward facing dog. Taking a breath here. And this time lifting the opposite leg to the sky, so it would be your right leg, because I think I said left last time. Again, my apologies. Taking an inhale. Exhale, drawing that knee towards the nose, landing that foot between the hands rather, at the top of the mat. And again, finding your low or your high lunge. When you feel aligned, bringing the arms up, overhead. Nice tall chest. Gazes forwards, dropping the shoulders. Maybe the hands come to the hips or remain above the head. Nice deep breaths. Connecting to your thighs, connecting to the core, drawing that belly button towards the spine. Let's inhale the arms above the head. Exhale, folding over that front leg, hand on the inside of the foot, left fingertips up to the sky or whichever fingertips. Nice deep breaths. Keep that core engaged. Feel the thigh pressing into the core. And then we'll windmill that top arm back and around, lifting the back leg, stepping the front foot back to our downward facing dog or our three-legged dog. Shifting the weight forwards, finding your plank. Maybe that leg stays lifted for a moment. And then when you're ready, we're going to roll over onto our left side plank. Right arm to the sky, or maybe you come down to that left knee. And again, gazing at the sky, the wall, or the earth. Nice deep breaths, pressing away from the earth. Pressing the hips up to the sky. And then we'll release it back down to our plank. Taking a breath here. Dropping the knees down. And we'll inhale our left leg back. Exhale, tiger curl. Inhale back. Exhale. Inhale back. And then bringing that leg to the right side of the mat, landing the toes, gazing over the right shoulder towards the foot. Feeling that constriction through the right side of the waist. And then we'll release that leg back up to center, all the way around. Toes land in line with that knee. Sole lands. Shifting the weight forwards and back. Feeling that stretch through the legs, the groin, the hips maybe. Noticing any other sensations anywhere else in the body. And then we'll meet back with a neutral spine. Wrists under shoulders, gazing to the top of the mat. Inhale, lifting the chest, dropping the belly, gazing forwards. Exhale to round. Taking a couple more of these with your own breath at your own pace. And when you're ready, shifting the hips back, finding your long-legged child's pose. Nice deep breaths. And then we'll shift the weight back up, finding your table. Crawl the hands forwards to the top of the mat, taking your heart-melting pose. Forehead lands to the mat, or the chin if you want a bit more through the shoulders. If this is a bit much, you can always shift the hips back a little towards the heels, or a lot. So you find a stretch that feels good for you. Taking some nice deep breaths here. And from here, we'll shift our weight all the way down onto the belly. Take our arms out in front, stacking the palms, makrasana, forehead to the earth. We're going to bring our left arm out long in a T shape, palm facing down. And then we're going to start to roll the body towards that long arm. And then we're going to bring that left sole of the foot behind us. Left fingertips to the earth, just in front of the chest. So stretching through the shoulder here, maybe the chest as well. You could land or rest that left hand in the lower back if that feels good, if you want a bit more of an opening through the left side of the chest. A couple of breaths here. And then we'll roll back to center, set ourselves up for the other side. So left leg's long, rolling the body. Sorry, left arm is long, rolling the body towards that long arm. Right sole of the foot or toes land to the earth behind. Right fingertips rest on the earth, or maybe that hand rests in the lower back behind you. And then bringing it back to center. Arms out in front, stacking the palms, makrasana. And from here, we'll bring the hands to frame the chest, bending the elbows, hugging the side body. Tucking the toes under, lifting, pressing through the palms, bending through the knees, coming up. We're going to set up to come down onto our backs. Just taking as much time as you need. Depending on where you are, you might like to pop on a jumper or socks. We're going to start to really cool down now. We're going to grab our bolster and we're going to come down onto the mat so our bolster's under our lower back. So you might like to set it up now, or you might like to come down, press the hips up and bring the bolster underneath. I'm just going to get on top of it now and then lie back. And if you have a block, this is totally optional. You'll see what I mean in a minute. We'll just pop it to the end of the mat, just so that the heels are on top of it. And then coming down. But once you arrive, we'll actually just bend the knees and have the soles of the feet to the earth. And then as for the arms, just whatever's comfortable for you. You might like to stay connected to the body and the breath and rest the hands somewhere on the body. You might like to really open up through the heart, through the chest, bring the arms above the head, hands to opposite elbows or forearms. You might just rest your arms by the sides. There's no right or wrong here. And then option to draw the legs long so that the heels land on that block. Or you could just simply ditch that block and just have the heels to the earth. So just finding your expression of bridge. Really starting to cool down that heat that we built up, that fire. Taking a few rounds of breath in through the nose, filling up the torso. And releasing with a kind of like you're breathing out fire. Bringing your awareness to that space just above the navel. Sensing your inner fire. Perhaps feeling it, feeling the warmth, or visualizing a ball of fire or a ball of light emanating warmth. Each time you inhale, imagine that ball of fire or that warmth or that light growing brighter. And as you exhale, see that ball or fire expand. Inhale brighter. Exhale, expanding further into the body. Inhale brighter. Exhale, expanding even further throughout the whole body. Inhale. Exhale, expanding to fill up every cell, every muscle, tendon, bone, the whole body. Inhale. Exhale, expanding further to fill up the aura. Inhale. Exhale, expanding further to fill up the whole room. Inhale. Exhale, expanding even further to fill up the whole street, the whole neighborhood. Inhale. Exhale to expand. Inhale. Exhale to expand even further. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Feeling yourself surrounded by your inner fire, confidence, self-trust, your will. Start to draw that fire back to the space just above the belly button. Sensing that warmth in the center of the body. Inhaling into the center of the body. Exhale down the left thigh, all the way down to the tippy toes. Inhale, center of the body. Exhale, right thigh, right leg, tippy toes. Inhale, center of the body. Inhale, out the left chest, left arm, fingertips. Inhale, center of the body. Exhale, right chest, arm, fingertips. Inhale, center of the body. Exhale, center of the chest, throat, top of the head. Allow the body to breathe naturally. Release the arms down by your sides if you're not already there. Draw the soles of the feet to the earth, knees to the sky. Lift the hips slightly, press the bolster or the pillow or whatever prop you have. Pop it to the side or pop it under the knees. Draw the legs long over the top. Maybe popping a blanket on top of yourself. Kicking that block to the side if you have it underneath the feet. Arms are long down by our sides, palms facing up. And taking these last few minutes to integrate the practice, to find rest. Starting to bring the awareness back to the body on the earth. Bringing some gentle movement to the fingers and the toes. Gently swaying the head left to right. You might like to draw the arms above the head, nice long stretch pointing through the toes. Maybe even inviting in a yawn. Rolling over to one side when you feel ready. And taking a moment of pause here before you very mindfully make your way up to a seat. Taking as much time as you need. And we will meet with our hands in prayer at heart center. Anjali Mudra. Dropping the head down towards the heart, bowing the head rather. Thanking yourself for connecting to your body, mind, and spirit. Taking this time for yourself for a little bit of ritual in your day or your evening. Ready to return to the space, gently opening the eyes. Now, from here, while we're in this more meditative state, this is a really nice time to make some intentions around a new moon. So another thing about new moons is it can be a fertile time to plant seeds, to create your intentions for the next cycle or a cycle. So this could be some intentions you have for the next week until the next full moon, where full moons are where things culminate or bloom. It might be for the next new moon, so in a month's time. It could be for a yearly cycle. It could be anything. It's really up to you, and we all have our own personal cycles in our life, so you know best. I personally, with this new moon, am going to be setting some sort of 2026 resolutions or goals, or however you want to call it, because I really love working with the new moon at the end of the year and then the new moon at the start of the year. So the new moon at the start of the year is in Capricorn, and so we're working with really serious, established sort of energies, like mature, get things done, build the foundations, that sort of energy. Whereas Sagittarius energy is a lot more fun. It's a lot more imaginative, and because Neptune's involved, it can be a little bit delusional. So like, be careful, be prepared for maybe the intentions you're setting now might not be so rooted in reality to the point where like you might get disappointed. So maybe just keep that in mind, but no harm in dreaming big, you know? It's a very Sagittarius thing to dream big. Sagittarius is good at dreaming and then making it happen, or at least attempting to make it happen. So yeah, I like to work with this really fun Sagittarius energy and come up with those sorts of goals, knowing that in the new year I'll create more like, I guess, logical, boring, or more practical goals rather. So yeah, this is a good time to do that. So I'm gonna take a minute, grab a cup of tea, you can too, and then I'll meet you back here. Otherwise, if you want to go do your own thing and don't require my guidance or prompts, you are welcome to leave. Otherwise, I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so you might already know what your intentions are. So just scribble it all down, journal. Otherwise, here are some more structured ideas just around the Sagittarius themes. Where in my life am I inconsistent? Can you make an intention around creating consistency in this area of your life? Like I said, Sagittarius can be a bit aloof. Sagittarius can sort of like jump around ideas, be spontaneous, sort of abandon things. So perhaps that's coming up for you. I'll give you a minute with that one. Another one around belief systems, philosophies, that sort of stuff. And also sort of around the idea that it's the end of the year and maybe you want to like not bring some stuff with you into the new year, or you want to start that process of releasing it or whatever. Where do you have really firm beliefs? What is a lens you have that you navigate the world with that's so steadfast, you're so stubborn in it, and it's unhelpful? This can include things like, you know, stuff that was established in your childhood. For me, it's like you got to work 10 zillion jobs to even make enough money to survive. That's a belief that I carry with me, which I've disproved several times, but it's deep. So that's an example. Another one, a much more fun one. What do you want to explore? What adventures do you want to have? Think broadly, like, yeah, sure, overseas, maybe more local travel, which would be more of a Gemini thing, but that's fine. It's still an adventure. What do we want to explore philosophically, belief system-wise? Yeah, what do you want to explore maybe in a relationship, in your intimate life, anything? Any sort of new thing you want to try, any sort of new adventure you want to have. Another really beautiful thing I forgot to mention about Sagittarius is that they're very optimistic. Again, thinking about that Gemini-Sagittarius axis, like the opposite signs. Yeah, Sagittarius is very optimistic. Gemini is an absolute cynic, which I always find funny when those two are together. Anyway, that's not a prompt at all. Though I will say, you lean into the optimism, but know that if you lean into it too much, you're probably going to get disappointed, because it can certainly err on the side of overly optimistic. And again, like I said before, that sort of delusional stuff. Another prompt, that's sort of broader thinking again. Where am I being small in my life? Where am I being too specific, or where am I keeping myself little and ignoring like the whole system or the whole picture or the bigger picture? And maybe you want to expand them. Maybe the intention is around expanding that or stepping into something bigger. I know that's something I definitely want to do. I see myself keeping myself small in sort of this space, like the yoga space. There's a lot of fear there. And that's something I could step into or think about more broadly. Another one is, this might take a lot longer to contemplate, but on that sort of theme of truth and honesty, maybe there's a lie you tell yourself. Maybe there's something you're in denial about. Maybe you could intend to explore that, release that, re-narrate that, see the truth of it. And then lastly, you might like to have an intention around creating more freedom or liberation. This is a funny topic because what does that mean? Or yeah, what's freedom and liberation for you, and how can you create more of that in your life? Can you make an intention around creating that? And lastly, Sagittarius has a lot of faith. They just do things and they trust it. Is there maybe somewhere in your life where you could intend to experiment with that sort of trust that whatever happens is what's meant to happen? Can you trust that it'll be a positive outcome rather than, oh, all these things that could go wrong, I shouldn't do this kind of stuff? Is there even just a little baby part of your life? Can you bring a little more faith to that part, faith in the optimistic outcome, faith in the optimistic process? And so when you've finished your intentions, what I love to do is a little ritual. Sometimes I'll light, if I have enough candles, I'll light one candle for each intention. I'll light the candle, recite the intention, blow the candle out, and then move on to the next candle. Or you could just do that with one candle. Or I love to say all of my intentions out loud. For me, like, my voice is important in that sort of stuff. You could, with the whole fire theme, burn them, say them out loud, trust that they've been planted, burn them. Or rip them up and throw them into the ocean, whatever. Otherwise, it's enough that you've written them down. It's enough that you've even thought of them. So it's really up to you what you do from here on out. So thank you for joining me. Hope that you got something out of that. And I'll see you next time.